Howdy, y'all, and welcome to Cowboys Like Us, a podcast where we talk about the music of Taylor Swift. Yeehaw.
Thank you so much for joining us. This is our very first episode, and today we are talking about 22.
Yes, we should also start by saying who we are.
Well, who are you?
So I'm Kim.
I'm Justin, and we are married.
We are married.
To one another. That's
yes.
how we know one another. know one another from marriage.
From marriage.
Primarily.
Yes.
And, yeah. I guess to start off, we will talk a little bit about what Taylor's up to lately. News.
Kind of establishing who she is.
Yeah.
And what she's doing.
Who is Taylor Swift, you know?
Taylor Allison Swift, born in Reading, Pennsylvania, 1989.
1989. And how did you come to be a fan of Miss Swift and her music?
So I have been a fan of Taylor Swift since the very beginning. And I say very beginning in like her public beginning way. Like I wasn't like around for the pre-debut stuff. But my very first memory of Taylor Swift is sitting in the bedroom floor of my childhood best friends, listening to the debut CD. She is also still a raging Swiftie to this day. She went to the couple of the Nashville shows and for the Eras tour and 2 Atlanta shows. But anyway, so she, I guess, sort of introduced me to Taylor Swift. I don't know if she bought the CD or if her sister did, but either way, it was definitely after, like, Teardrops on My Guitar, and our song probably came out as singles, and definitely Tim McGraw since it was first. I have just kind of been around since debut, been on board on the Taylor train.
Very cool. Yeah. I don't know if you know this, Kimberly, but I am a man.
I am very familiar with the fact that you're a man, yes.
Right. And so for a large portion of my adolescence, it was not cool to be a fan of Taylor Swift, but I was aware of her from early on as well. I believe I heard Teardrops on My Guitar first. I think that was the first one I heard. I didn't much care for it initially. Didn't connect with me much because I was not a teenage girl, so I couldn't really relate
Sure.
all that much. But
whereas I'm pretty sure I was in elementary school, so I was in it.
I was in high school.
Oh yeah, so okay, early middle school.
Yeah, I was a freshman, I guess. Or maybe a sophomore by the time I heard that song. And I know that because, I don't know if I've told you this story, but I had this English teacher, sophomore and senior year. Her name was Miss Boswell. And she was a very older, strange lady. And she made us write a poem one day. And I wrote one, and everybody did. And then she got up to read one of them because she was so excited about it. And it was called Teardrops on My Guitar.
Oh no.
By one of the girls in the class. And
straight plagiarized.
Yep, straight plagiarism. And we ratted her out immediately, and that girl got in trouble.
No.
Yeah, she thought she was rather slick, I guess.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, I would say I started to get on board a little more around the time of Fearless, because I felt like it just felt a little bit more mature and a little more developed musically, and so I was like, yeah.
Definitely against debut, I would agree.
You know, this thing's got some bangers on it, but I only knew, like, the singles. I wasn't compelled to actually buy an album or listen to a full album until Red was when I really got into it a little bit more. And then I bought 1989 the day it came out at Target because I was, I guess, a convert by then. So ever since 1989, I've been on the train, I guess.
I feel like that's really common that most people kind of discovered her with Red. It seems like even though Fearless was really big and Teardrops and Our Song and all of that did well on their own, I feel like a lot of people really didn't take her seriously until about the Red era. Some people still don't to this day, and it's very rude, but it's fine.
Yeah, well, a lot of people, I think, have a sort of bias against quote-unquote pop music because they feel like it's, by its very nature, shallow and vapid.
Yeah.
Which it doesn't have to be, although we'll get into it, but I think the song today that we're talking about is a little bit of those things.
I also just feel like sometimes, pop music fills the void, even if it is shallow and vapid. It's like sometimes you just want to listen to nonsense, listen to nothing with substance, and just dance, kind of like this song.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you just want to listen to a fun song and enjoy it.
Exactly. Yeah, it doesn't have to be more than that. It doesn't have to, speak to your soul. It could just make you want to move.
Right. While we're on the topic of music more broadly, what are some other artists that you like and don't like, genres and that sort of thing?
You're just going to shame me.
No. I just want to, spoiler alert, we're going to be ranking every Taylor Swift song from 1 to 10. And some of our rankings may cause our listeners some upset. And I just want them to be able to know, what do we like, so that they can then turn around and crap on the thing we like. That seems fair.
So I definitely think Taylor would be one of my top, favorite artists. That's why we're here, right? Because I love her music. Also a big Harry Styles fan. I am a child of divorce, so anybody else out there who is a fan of Harry Styles and Taylor Swift would understand. Was a big One Direction fan back in the day. Still love the music that exists. Always hoping for a reunion. I also like Five Sauce. I like Ed Sheeran a lot. Pretty much a good bit of my music interest come back to Taylor in one way, shape, or form. Big Selena Gomez fan. Trying to think of who else I listen to. Who do I listen to? Of course, the classics. Love the Beatles. That kind of vibe. I'm definitely in the pop realm. I'm a big pop person. Mainstream music is my vibe.
Feel that. So you don't go too far into the experimental or alternative.
Right. A form of music that I really like that you don't like is folk music. I'm really big into Noah Kahan right now. Lizzie McAlpine. I do love a Phoebe Bridgers. Again, bringing it back to Taylor. Phoebe Bridgers. Because I said her name.
We say Phoebe Bridgers.
Phoebe Bridgers. So I'm sure if we talk about, or when we talk about Nothing New, we will say Phoebe Bridgers a lot. But
yeah, I don't know why we think that's funny.
I don't know why either, but we run with it for sure. Heard it once and can't let it go because, again, I say again, this is a conversation you and I had, but it's always for the bit. Everything's a bit. Everything's always for a bit. So.
For sure. Yeah, so I guess then it would be fair to say that you're not a person who dislikes folking around a little bit.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
I love folking around just a little bit. I wouldn't say I'm huge into not big into rap, but I dabble for sure. Hip hop is kind of the same. I'm not opposed to it, just not huge into it. Do love a pop punk band. Pretty much all the heavy hitters.
Yeah.
It's really funny when someone asks you, what music are you into? And you forget every artist you've ever listened to. Literally, I could only tell you, I listen to Harry Styles, Taylor Swift, Niall Horan. That's all I listen to in my mind.
I feel that. Speaking of pop punk, I was definitely a pop punk emo boy in my day, in my prime, back in high school and everything. Fall Out Boy is my ride or die till the end. So Much for Stardust. Go listen to it. Came out this year, still bangs.
Going to their show in July.
That's right, we're going to see them in Atlanta. I also was into MCR and Paramore and, Panic, all the hitters, all the big dogs. But then I was kind of big into music when, Lil Wayne was very everywhere. And I could appreciate some of his music back then. I haven't felt compelled to go back, and I feel like I'd be embarrassed to at this point. But I liked him back in the day a little bit.
I was in a store the other day, and How to Love came on. And I just, had to stand there for a minute and go, this is really a song that we, people used to like.
Oh, is it bad?
It's not great, guys. You listen to it again and you're like, ooh, yikes. What is that song? Anyway.
Yeah, but nowadays, I don't really listen to a lot of hip-hop or anything. I have some love for like Kendrick Lamar and Outkast and, the more lyrical side of hip hop, I guess. Heavier music, I'm not so much into. I listen to a little bit of heavier stuff. I like Sleep Token a lot lately. I like old stuff too. I like the Beatles. I like Prince a lot. Massive Prince fan. I don't think Kimberly gets that so much.
I have absolutely nothing against Prince. You just love him definitely way more than I do. I can vibe with like his hits. I feel like now I've heard like everything he has to offer, which is wild. I didn't really ever think that was going to be something I could say. It's like, I've probably heard every Prince song.
Yeah. Well, you haven't, and neither have I, actually. There's like
okay.
So much of it. He was a very prolific artist. I'm also a big fan of like Motown and stuff, like Temptations, Four Tops, Supremes, all that. Just have fond memories of it because that was what my parents listened to when I was coming up. Beach Boys. They're not Motown, but they're from around the same time.
No, yeah, I get that. I associate, like in my mind, I group the Beatles and Beach Boys together. And I think it's just because my dad
likes both of them.
Likes both of them. He's still alive. Likes both of them. I think that's why I kind of squish them together. But
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that's what we like, besides Taylor.
Yes.
So, do with that what you will. Let us know on Twitter and on Instagram what garbage tastes we have.
Yes. Yeah, please do. And how we're not qualified to do this at all.
Yep. Slide into our DMs and threaten to decapitate us at Walmart and that sort of thing.
Do it.
It's all in good fun. All right, what's next?
So, news, I guess.
News from around the Taylorverse.
Yes. So,
might put a drop in there. We'll see.
As of today, leading up what has happened. So, Taylor is on the Eras tour. We are about halfway through the North American tour, I believe. Might be a little less than half. Don't remember exactly if it goes through August or September or further than that. But we have gotten a lot of surprise guests, and of course everybody has been anticipating the secret songs every night of tour.
This tour, would you say Eras tour? Was it?
Yes.
Is it a big deal? Do people care? Are people going?
No, it's definitely not a big deal.
It's just pretty chill.
Super
pretty low
chill.
Key. Yeah.
Super low key. Like, she's playing like little venues, super intimate. Yeah, for sure.
Gotcha.
It's definitely not a stadium tour
No.
of thousands and hundreds of thousands of people.
She probably made like $10.
Yeah, definitely. Like, she's paying to play.
That's a true artist there,
And definitely every single fan got tickets to the show, and there wasn't a whole controversy or anything over it.
Speaking of, I don't know how true this is of you, the listener, but we were among those who tried and failed to get tickets, were we not?
Yeah. So I feel like what I've seen, it almost makes me feel like we were like among the minority, because I feel like everybody I know somehow managed to be in the group that got tickets, and got tickets to more than one night, more than one show.
Wow.
And I'm like, I was just trying to get 3 tickets to one show and had the worst experience. I say the worst experience. I guess the absolute worst experience would have been not being picked for the verified pre-sale period, which I did. I was lucky enough to get into that lottery of being able to get into the pre-sale for Eras tour tickets. However, once I got into the waiting, I was like, it was jumping around. I was like a crazy far back in line. And once it moved pretty quickly, but once I got into picking tickets, every ticket I clicked on, by the time I tried to check out, and I was just clicking and checking out, and every time it'd be like, someone already bought these. And I sat there and watched the entire stadium turn to gray from blue, meaning that it sold out in front of my eyes.
Tragic.
Yeah.
Have I told you about, I work at a library, for those of you who don't know. You have
told me about the fact that you work at a library. I do know that about you.
Well, I try to keep it close to the vest, but I guess...
well, we live together, so...
Yeah. So anyway, I have 15-ish employees who work for me doing circulation, so they're out at the front desk. And I was in my office, which is right behind the circ desk, and there were about 5 or 6 of my employees out there giggling and chatting and messing around on their computers. And I went out there and I said, "What on earth are y'all doing?" And they said, "Oh, we're trying to get Taylor Swift tickets." They go on say like a few minutes. And some of them got some and some of them did not. So a lot of animosity, I'm sure, built up that day.
My best friend Madeline, our mutual friend.
Future guest of the pod.
Yeah, future guest of the pod. Pod Gremlin, Matty B, maybe, all of her names. She gives me crap to this day about the fact that I didn't get us Taylor Swift tickets that day. Like it was in my control at all. It's all in good fun. I know she's joking. But we just got, I guess another person I listen to are the Jonas Brothers, but a big fan since around a similar time, which also relates back to Taylor, which we'll get to later on, I'm sure. But Madeline and I are going to see the Jonas Brothers in Atlanta in October. And so when I was getting ready to buy us tickets for that, she was like, "Don't screw it up. Don't mess it up like you did the Swift tour." So.
Very cool, yeah. In addition to touring, Taylor also has a new album coming out, or rather an old album that is made new, re-recorded.
Yeah, so during the tour we got the announcement on Nashville Night 1, I believe. We got the announcement for Speak Now Taylor's version coming out in July, which is super exciting.
Yeah, I wasn't really on board yet, so I will be listening to a lot of those songs and really getting into them for the first time, for the deep cuts at least. I was familiar with some of the singles.
Right.
But yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, Speak Now was my favorite album for a long time of Taylor's, through Red and through 1989 and for a good few years. Speak Now was my top album. It is no longer my top album, but it's still up there. Maybe my second or third. Mostly for nostalgia reasons, but it really hit right in the time of my life when it came out, so I'm very excited for Taylor's version to come out.
There you go.
In July.
July what?
7th.
July 7th.
And she will be playing a show the day that it comes out, so I'm sure there will be hijinks.
Yeah. Maybe she'll play some of the vault tracks or whatever.
Yeah. Also, as of this recording, last night's show got a lot of fun stuff because Midnight's the Till Dawn edition and also the Late Night edition came out. There were 2 different ones, so everyone finally got hits different on streaming, which was exciting. We got a longer, or not really longer, but a more Lana version of Snow on the Beach. And then we got Karma featuring Ice Spice, which had mixed reviews, but she also brought out Ice Spice last night and premiered a music video for it. So,
and there was another song also that's not available for streaming right now. What was that one?
You're Losing Me.
You're Losing Me. Yeah.
It came out on her website, digital download, that version that had the new limited edition song last night. And you could also only get the physical form of the CD at the concert this weekend. The concerts this weekend, because I think it's either a 2-night or 3-night this week. I don't remember, but
yeah. Well, that one and Hits Different are both bangers. So
yeah.
A good day yesterday.
And I'm sure You're Losing Me will end up getting put into our rotation since we didn't know about it until 24 hours ago. But I feel like we'll talk about it in its comparison to other songs. But as I mentioned to you, his first kind of thoughts last night was that I don't know that it deserved to be on Midnight's. Like, I don't know if it's one that I would have been like, this got cut, but it should have made it over another song. I don't know that I would replace it, but it does give me big Lover vibes, and a lot of that seems to be the consensus across the board because a lot of people have been playing it against Cornelia Street, and it lines up very interestingly, so sure we'll talk about that.
How about that? Okay. What else? Anything else newsworthy? Yes. So, I think one thing that the broader Taylor Swift fandom has been talking a lot about, really agonizing over, is her relationship with a certain British gentleman. And to get into that a little more, I think it's time that we take our first visit of many to a place I like to call Kimberly's Clown Corner. Kimberly's Clown Corner.
I think it would be doing an injustice if we didn't go back just a little bit and start by saying a lot of people were devastated to find out a month or so ago that Taylor was no longer dating her 6-year-long boyfriend, Joe Alwyn. That news broke while the Eras Tour was in process, and then what felt like mere days later, Taylor was rumored to be dating Matty Healy of the 1975.
Heard of it?
Yep. Again, another band that we both listen to.
Right.
Very, very big fans of their music. However, the Swiftie community has feelings about the relationship with Matty Healy. Taylor and Matty were first linked to each other right after 1989 came out, while she was on her 1989 tour, I believe. She was spotted out wearing a 1975 album top, and I think the next day Matty played a show and wore a 1989 album cover shirt, the Ringer tee, that she sold on tour, I believe, or maybe on her website as well at the time. Anyway, that's when rumors first started that something might be going on there. I think since then it's kind of been revealed that they had like a fling, but it was nothing super serious. Just kind of hung out a while, maybe, had some fun times together, but who's to say? We don't really know much about that, but
we do know that Mr. Healy was asked about it at the time.
Yes.
And he had some very strong words about it. He said that he would not have dated Taylor Swift because it would be emasculating, something to that effect, which is an interesting thing.
Yeah.
A problematic thing to say.
He did have some interesting things to say about how he definitely would not date Taylor Swift.
Does the lady protest too much, methinks?
Yeah. He also is just kind of generally known to put his foot in his mouth a lot. He's been in a lot of hot water recently for saying very racist things on a podcast, specifically about Ice Spice, who Taylor, now that she's dating Matty Healy, has a song or a remix of Karma out with a music video and brought her out on stage, which seems very much like I'm trying to make this situation better. Like, she knows that we're not super happy about her dating Matty because he is problematic. And so she is trying to come in and be like, no, my boyfriend's super cool, and like, I'm gonna make it better. I'm gonna smooth it over.
So you subscribe to that theory then, that it's a PR move, damage control sort of maneuver?
I mean, it's probably not entirely, but I think that's definitely a thought deep down in her PR team. I think Taylor is very genuine with a lot of the stuff that she does. A lot of it is fabricated in the way that, like, she wrote a whole song about how she is a mastermind, and I know it's a play on the fact that, like, people think she does this exact thing, but there's nothing she does that isn't with purpose. So I think she genuinely respects Ice Spice and, like, does want to collaborate with her like she does other people. But I do also think that deep down there's a bit of that, like, damage control narrative of, if I do this, people will be like, well, it's okay because she's dating Matty and this is his way of apologizing, even though he gave an awful, awful apology. I'm kind of sorry if I might have, like, pissed someone off or something.
Well, yeah, so I do think that Taylor is very, very calculating, very image conscious in a way that I think sometimes the more rabid elements of her fan base tend to lose sight of, because and it's partly on her, I think, because she is very open and emotionally vulnerable in her music, and so the fans feel like they know her personally in a way, and I don't know that that's the case. I think she's very in control of her image at all times.
For sure, for sure. I think it's super evident, especially of recently, that like she's not seen unless she wants to be seen.
Right.
And I think that's been established since about the 1989 era, like right at the beginning of before Reputation, when kind of she was at the height of her feuds and things. I think that kind of started getting established that like Taylor only allows us to see and peer into her life when she wants us to. We only see what she wants us to see. And so I've seen a lot of speculation that like the reason we know that she's dating Matty so early and we know so much about it already and where they are and what they're doing and how often they're together is because her relationship with Joe was so closed off and out of the public that she's like trying to flip it completely.
Mm.
But I don't know where I stand there. I don't know what I believe on that front, if that's what she's doing or if it's just like they're both in the public eye, so they just both get captured together. It's more talked about.
I think also a little bit probably because I am a man, as we've talked about. I don't tend to get into the dating lives and the personal lives of the artists I'm a fan of in that way so much. And I don't know, I just have found it a little bit strange how involved some of the internet Swifties have been with, Taylor's dating a guy I don't like, and, I'm going to go on a whole thing about it. And it's like, you don't know her. She's not your friend. Mm-hmm. Like, why do you think you have any control over this? I don't know. It feels very, very strange to me.
As someone who was a teenage girl in the height of One Direction fever, and was part of that, was in the middle of it, it is really strange, the phenomenon, the emotional connection that you get to someone, and then they start dating someone, and you're like, I don't like this. And it sometimes it is 100%, like, people are delusional and think, like, they have a chance with that person, and that's why they don't like that they're dating someone else. But I think for me, and, like, for majority of people, it's really not that, but it is a sense of, like, like, you're my friend. Like, I feel like you're my friend. Yeah. And now you have left me to be with a significant other. What am I supposed to do, Which, that's not, accurate anyway, but I feel like that's where that energy comes from, is like, we had a connection, and now you're giving that connection to someone else.
Scissor me, Taylor. Yeah, no, I feel you. So, obviously, I'm going to go out on a limb here, on a big limb. Okay. Right out the gate. Episode 1. Yeah. Probably get us canceled.
Oh, no.
But I will say that the official stance of the Last Great American Podcast is racism is bad. We don't like it. Yeah. We're not here for that. Yeah. So, don't think that my sort of being baffled by the Swifties' concern is downplaying Matty's racism.
Correct.
At all. Because he has said some very regrettable things, and we can argue about how sincere he was with that. Mm-hmm. Is he being sarcastic, as is his wont sometimes?
Yeah.
But regardless, some of the stuff he said was over the line, and that's it.
Yeah, on the Last Great American Podcast, you will not find Matty Healy apologists.
No.
You will not find that here. We do not apologize for him, even though we are fans of his music.
Yes.
Before he even started dating Taylor, I was like, you are off the rails, man. You're losing it. But yes, we very much stand for, we stand against racism, misogyny, homophobia, transphobia.
Yeah, we are the wokest podcast on the internet.
Okay. I mean, we definitely strive to be. I don't know that we are, but we'll strive to be.
Yeah.
But we definitely also, are big supporters of consent and things like that, which he is known to kind of play with at times, sort of borderline cross.
What's he been doing on his tour? Kissing fans? Is that the thing I heard?
Yeah. So he, I believe, has been like bringing people up on stage and doing kind of like a bit of like singing to them and then ends up kissing them. And, you know, I'm sure most fans that this has happened to would probably be like, it's fine. But like, consent is consent, and it doesn't seem that he is getting that before he does it. So
yeah. To any gentleman listening to this podcast, all 5 of you, particularly the younger ones, don't ever assume consent. That's not the way to do it, you know? Enthusiastic verbal consent.
That's what you want.
That's what we're about here on the Last Great American Podcast.
That's what you want. Maybe is not a yes.
That's right. Maybe it's not a yes.
Later is not a yes.
100 no's followed by a yes.
Probably shouldn't be a yes.
It shouldn't be. Technically, there is a yes in there, but it doesn't feel right to do that.
Why did we have to get through 100 no's to get to a yes? Maybe that's what you should ask yourself.
Yeah. Do you want to be the tide gradually eating away, eroding a woman's resistance? Is that what you want, sir? You piece of garbage.
Unfortunately, I feel like some of them are. Okay, I feel like we've gotten off on a consent tangent.
All right.
So anyway, I feel like that's all there is to say about that. The exact quote that Matty said about dating Taylor Swift, we'll end on that, was, if I'd gone out with Taylor Swift, I would have been, fucking hell, I'm not being Taylor Swift's boyfriend. You know, fuck that. That's also a man thing, a emasculating thing in response to the question about him losing himself in a relationship. So,
we say fuck on this podcast, I've learned just now, and I'm here for it because I was probably going to drop some accidentally anyway.
That's why I asked if we cussing on here, homie.
Yeah, we can.
We're gonna do it. We're too casual about it. We're gonna do it. It was in the quote. How do we not say it if it's a quote?
That's very true. All right. Well, thank you, Kimberly. That was an illuminated trip to your clown corner. We will be back there next week.
Yes. I do love that Clown Corner ended up with us just going on a rampage about consent and stuff. That's a great place to live. I love that.
Yeah, Kimberly's Clown Corner is a nice place to live.
Yes.
That's what it says on the town sign.
It is. I would like this to end with like the honking of the clown nose. I'd like that to be the end.
I will put that in there. What is next on our agenda there?
We have a note of Speak Now, Taylor's version getting closer, but we've talked about that, so.
Right. Is it time to talk about the song of the week?
Yeah, let's get into the song of the week.
And what song has random chance chosen for us today?
I don't know about you.
I'm feeling 22.
That's right. 22! Originally released on Red.
Yes.
I believe it was the 4th single from it.
4th single. Red was released on October 22nd, 2012.
Mm-hmm.
And this song was the 4th single released on June 24th, 2013.
Written by Taylor Swift, Max Martin, and Shellback. Max Martin is a very, very successful pop songwriter and producer. He has, I believe, written and or produced more number ones on Billboard Hot 100 than anybody except for John Lennon and Paul McCartney, guys you may know from the Beatles. Is that accurate?
Yes, that is correct.
And Shellback works for his production company, one of his proteges, but he has been successful in his own right.
Yeah, so he's had 10 number ones written or produced, and Martin has had 25 Billboard number ones.
Pretty good at his job, you could say, writing pop music.
Seems like they know what they're doing, so should be able to write a pretty decent pop song for Taylor Swift.
Yes, and they wrote this song with Taylor. I believe they also did We Are Never Getting Back Together, and I want to say there was another one on Red that they co-wrote, but I don't recall what it was.
I'm sure. I don't have it here, but I'm sure it'll come back up. I think it's interesting that they wrote this song and Never Getting Back Together, because that will reflect one of my thoughts later on. But they have such a very similar vibe to them. So I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess you can hear their influence in both. How was it as a single? Did it hit pretty big?
So it reached number 20 on the Billboard Hot 100.
Nice.
It went triple platinum in the US. And then when Taylor's version came out, her re-record of Red in November of 2021, this song made it to number 52 on the Hot 100.
Speaking of the re-records real quick.
Yeah.
Just a programming note for the listener. We won't be talking about the Taylor's versions as separate songs. They won't have separate episodes to themselves. Yes. It will be one episode per song. We'll, when appropriate, I think, talk about differences between the versions.
Yeah.
22, I feel like, is pretty note for note, though. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, there's not a huge difference. I think in a lot of the songs that we've gotten so far of Taylor's versions, there's definitely a difference, a significant difference between her voice originally and her voice now, just kind of at the baseline, and then some other things as well. But I think 22 is pretty much as equivalent as you can get.
Yeah, I did see some comments on the Taylor Swift Reddit, which we will be referring to a lot on the show, saying that they felt the re-record of 22 lacked some of the original's energy, but I am not sure that I heard that myself. I don't really agree, but that was a note that some people had.
Yeah, I think for the most part it's the same song, but like there is something about like thinking back as a almost 28-year-old to who I was as 22, I had a lot more energy. So like she re-recorded almost 10 years, if not at 10 years later. So she was an actual 22-year-old singing about being 22 versus a 32-year-old trying to channel the energy of a 22-year-old, you know? So.
Right. Which brings me to another point that I was going to make, which is that Taylor Swift was born in 1989, as we know.
December 13th.
That's right. Yours truly was born in March of 1991, so a year and a half later.
Right.
Which means, given the timeline of writing songs, recording songs, releasing songs, basically every song Taylor has released has come out basically perfectly for me to be like, oh yeah, I'm feeling these emotions. I'm in this stage of life when she was writing this song.
Right, y'all were following a similar pattern of life. You were going through life with her.
Exactly, which makes it interesting at times. And 22 is one of those because I turned 22 while 22 was all over.
On the radio.
All the time. Yeah. And just, felt apt, you know?
Yeah.
Felt apt.
Whereas 22 came out when I was in high school. So, because I was born in 95. So, it came out when I was in high school, and it was just a fun pop song of some girl singing about being 22, and I didn't know what that felt like. And then kind of by the time my Taylor Swift year came about, which we were already together at that point, I was just kind of like, you know, a lot of people really leaned into it. 22 is their whole personality the year that they turned 22. I was not one of those people. I probably listened to it on my 22nd birthday. I really don't remember. But we said we're going to get into our thoughts about it, but like it's never been one of my like favorite songs. So it wasn't really a big deal for me.
Okay. Anything else about the song itself before we get into our thoughts?
I have some few notes on what Taylor has said about the song.
That sounds interesting.
So, the song's inspiration was a group of female friends with whom she often hung out, despite the uncertainty of adulthood. Quote, "The one thing that you have is that you have each other." She said that during an interview with Ryan Seacrest, and according to the liner notes in the album, the friends in question are Ashley. I do not know how to say her last name. Do you know?
Ashley what?
Avignone. Do you know how to say her last name? Is it French?
Avignon?
Avignon?
I don't know. Fancy.
So, apologies. I do not know how to say her last name, and I don't want to mess it up. Diana Agron, Claire Kisslinger. Ooh, that's hard too. And Selena Gomez. She also said, quote, "For me, being 22 has been my favorite year of my life. I like all the possibilities of how you're still learning, but you know enough. You still know nothing, but you know that you know nothing." You're old enough to start planning your life, but you're young enough to know there are many unanswered questions. That brings about a carefree feeling that is sort of based on indecision and fear, and at the same time letting loose. Being 22 has taught me so much. That's a billboard.
There you go. I think the quote about being old enough to realize you don't know anything is interesting, because that's something that I definitely found around that time as well. As a kid, you sort of think that adults know everything, you know, because they got their lives together. You're a kid. What do you know? As you start to get into your teenage years, you realize, oh, they don't know anything. But then you make the mistake of going, but I do. The teenage boy or girl, know everything these old folks don't understand. And then, once you get to college, you get your heart broken, you get some life experience behind you, and you realize no one knows anything.
Yeah, I'm still very much inside, I'm the kid going, I can't wait till I get to the age where I know everything like adults. And then I have to constantly look at that kid and be like, you're 28. Yeah. Everyone around you looks at you and goes, okay, you're an adult, you know what's going on. Like, all of the kids I know look at me and go, like, you're an adult, you have all the answers. And, like, I have the answers to their questions because I've been around the block and I understand that. But, like, I really thought I'd know more at this point. I feel like, as a kid, I kind of thought about it and I was like, wow, one day I'm going to be 28 years old, I'm going to be an adult, I'm going to be so old. And now I'm like, when does that day come? Because I still feel like I'm about 12.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like we missed that class where they teach you everything you need to know about being an adult. And
apparently they forgot to sign like all of the millennials up for that class of like when they tell you all the answers to the universe of life.
Yeah, we have two little nephews. One of them, the elder one, he's 6 years old now. And he thinks that we know lots of things, and I don't know how to tell him I am just some dumbass who doesn't know anything.
Yeah, he's definitely kind of at that point. He's past the point of asking questions for question's sake, but now he's asking questions of, like, genuine curiosity. So he'll ask, like, do you know about this or how this works, or, like, whatever, because he genuinely wants to learn and wants to know more, and, I mean, I'm not above looking at him and be like, dude, I don't know. But I'll find out with you. Let's Google it, you know? Like, right. Let's talk it out. Let's see if we can figure it out. But I'm definitely like, I have no idea. Not sure.
For sure. Yeah. Okay. Those were good quotes.
Yeah.
What are the critics and the fans, you know? What do they say? They have any thoughts?
So, critical reception was initially mixed. Most seemed to think it was catchy and fun, but lyrically weak and derivative of other pop of the era. All Music said it was cheerfully ludicrous club filler, which I think is pretty accurate. That's pretty on the nose. I like that description of it. Which I don't think is negative in any way, shape, or form.
No, I mean, clubs need music.
The Guardian said, makes Taylor seem like a cleaned up Katy Perry. Which,
knowing
now...
what, I was going to say, knowing what happens, that's fighting words.
Jonathan Keefe of Slant Magazine described 22 as a shrill, deliberately vapid Kesha knockoff.
Woof.
Now, I do not agree with that.
Seems a little harsh.
Yeah, I agree with, like, the club filler quote, but I don't agree with it being a Kesha knockoff at all.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't think you could play TikTok and play 22 back to back and be like, yeah, those are the same songs.
No, I don't think so.
They give off very different vibes.
Mm-hmm.
They may sound similar in like levels of pop.
Yeah, they're both
and
pop
production.
songs.
Yeah, but I don't think lyrically they explain a similar story in any way.
No, very different song. So one resource that we're going to be coming back to on this podcast is
Sorry, I read ahead.
is a list compiled by Mr. Rob Sheffield, editor of Rolling Stone magazine, who is a self-proclaimed Taylor Swift fan, and he ranked all of the songs up through Midnights.
Mm-hmm.
So the couple of new songs that have come out since then, and the Speak Now Vault tracks won't be on there unless he
until later, yeah,
makes an update. But what number did he rank?
So he made it ranked 22, number 47 on his list, and said it's 22,000 times more fun than actually turning 22.
There you go.
Which I would agree with.
All right. Is Reddit on there?
Yeah. Reddit, the one I was laughing at is Reddit user Don't Leave Me Like This says she initially misheard hipsters as hamsters, and now she chooses to say hamsters because she likes it better. Me too.
Yep, me too.
Image.
I like that. Yeah, they did. The Taylor Swift Reddit does something called Survivor with the tracks on each album, and they did one for Reddit TV, and how did 22 fare in that?
So it was a ranking except for Ronan on
So
Red Taylor's
1 through
version.
29 then.
Yeah, so 1,600 voters participated, 22 finished, 17th of 29 tracks.
17?
Yeah.
Okay. So, pretty mid, according to the Taylor Swift Reddit.
Which, yeah, feels about right.
Alright, so let's get into our thoughts then, a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I am not above some, I believe it was Shameless Club filler.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not above that, by any means. And I do agree that that's more or less what 22 is. Or maybe just for dance around your bedroom with your girls and have a good night.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And that's a cool thing. So, I enjoy the production on it. I think it's very catchy and very fun, very peppy. I like some of the lines in it, even though it is, as a whole, I would say, pretty bland and milquetoast lyrically. Not a lot going on. But I do like You Look Like Bad News, I Gotta Have You.
Mm-hmm.
That feels very, very accurate and self-aware, especially given the Matty Healy.
I was going to say, that line wasn't written for Matty Healy, but it was at the same time, you know?
And given just Taylor's penchant for disastrous love affairs. Yeah. It reminds me of something that my brother, if he were more self-aware, might say. He has a similar track record of making bad choices and then having them blow up in his face with love. What about you? How do you feel about it?
So, kind of in the same way, I feel like this was an early instance of Taylor playing into the hands of what everybody sort of expected of her. So it was half a song that she wrote just to write because it was fun, and she just wanted to have fun with her friends, and she just wanted a song that made you feel good and talked about the stage of her life that she was currently in. But then I also feel like it was kind of playing at, no one takes me seriously. Everyone expects me to be this girly, airheaded bubblegum pop. Put this out, even though she was trying to do the country pop thing. Red, obviously, is the first time we kind of see heavier pop influence than the country influence.
So you think it's almost sort of tongue-in-cheek a little bit?
Yeah, I think so for sure. I think she was definitely trying to convey what she does convey with the song, but I also think she was winking, being like, this is what you want from me, right? This is all I'm good for, so.
Well, she definitely does that exact thing on me later in her career.
Yeah.
Particularly with the "Hey kid, spelling is fun" line, which was so infamous that the internet bullied her into taking it down.
Yeah.
So that was fun. But
so I think 22 and me really have a lot in common in that way. I think with me, and by the time we got to Lover and to Midnights and stuff, she was so far into like, I really know what I'm getting into in the musical industry and what I'm up against and how everyone is expecting me to fail and everything, that she could make more direct fun of it. But I think during Red, she was like, I don't really know what to do, but this seems to be all they expect from me. So why not give them what they expect, but then also show them what else I can do with Excuse me, which is what she does with the rest of the album, I think.
I think it's fair to say that 22, We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together, and I Knew You Were Trouble were the three biggest sort of pop music of the day, sort of radio play seeking songs on the record. How do you compare it to those other two? Do you think it's better, worse?
So my first note was actually, did we need 22 and We're Never Getting Back Together? So I think I Knew You Were Trouble is slightly different than the other two, in that those three are definitely the songs from Red that once everybody heard them, it was kind of like, okay, so she's really going for the pop vibe. And I think when that announcement came with 1989 that she was like, I'm shifting completely to pop and leaving country behind, I don't think anybody was super surprised, because with Red, the three probably biggest songs from Red were all pop and like hardly any country influence.
Yeah, the warning signs were definitely there. The writing was on the wall.
So I Knew You Were Trouble feels like a full foot dip into the pop, like this is strictly for pop radio demographic, that sort of thing. We Are Never Getting Back Together and 22 feel like the same level of girly pop, whereas I Knew You Were Trouble has a little bit of like grunge to it a little bit. It feels a little more grungy, not maybe grunge to it, but it feels a little more edgy.
It had
maybe not grungy, edgy.
Well, yeah. So about the time that Red was being recorded and everything was the time when Skrillex was, I guess, at his height of popularity. Dubstep was taking over the airwaves, and I think a lot of pop artists, I don't know if you would say felt inspired or felt threatened. Definitely one of those, perhaps both. And so they felt compelled to incorporate certain electronic elements. And I think you hear that a little bit on I Knew You Were Trouble. Definitely got a little bit of a drop in the chorus.
For sure. And that's what I think makes it a little bit different than the other two, because the other two are just pure pop songs. And based off of the rest of the album, I'm like, did we need to? And especially looking at now that we have Taylor's version and we have all of the vault songs and all of the bangers in the vault of Red Taylor's version, I'm like, did we really need to? Then again, that is coming from a place where I've already heard all the rest of her music that is to come. And now I'm going back and I'm hearing 22 and I'm hearing also all the songs that got cut so 22 could make the album. And knowing what I know now and knowing the way in which her music was going to change, I feel like some of the other vault songs, like my initial thought is these vault songs should have gone on and We Are Never Getting Back Together should have been canned and 22 should have been canned and all that. But at the time, I don't feel like Taylor's career, nor she as a person, was in a place to put those other songs out, you know? Those are probably a little too deep for her market, a little too deep for what she was doing at the time. But since then, we've gotten Folklore and Evermore and Midnights, and it's like they make sense now, but they didn't at the time.
Yeah, I think that's something that people can lose sight of a little bit, because with hindsight, big 2020, we realized that Taylor was always going to be the queen of 2010s pop radio, pop listening, streaming, whatever. Yeah. And so, well, you could do whatever you want, Taylor. You can put whatever you want on it. But at the time, you know, that was not guaranteed at all, I don't feel like. And she may have got pressure from her label, you know, Big Machine, Big Machine at the time. At the time. We'll get into that at a later date. Yeah. You know, we got to have radio hits, you know. Got to move the units.
Also, I mean, like we talked about earlier, so everything Taylor does is calculated. We only see what she wants us to see, and she is a mastermind. With that all in mind, Taylor has always been good at reading a formula and knowing the formula of the time. So I think at the time she knew we are never going to get back together, and 22 were going to be, they're going to fit that formula, and they were going to be big hits. And they were. Right. If she were to redo it today, which is why I think she gives us the vault tracks anyway when she redoes these, not only just so that she owns all of the music she's already written, because she could re-record those and never put them out, and then she would own them, you know?
Sure.
But instead she gives it to us because she knows that the formula is very different. Music is very different now. We've seen a different side of her, and now we can appreciate the things that she wrote in the past.
Right. I think streaming has had a lot to do with that.
Yeah.
The prevalence of streaming services. It allows people to listen to a little bit of everything in a way that they couldn't with records. You had to, put out genre records because the kids who like country want country records.
Yeah.
So if there's a non-country song on a country record, people are going to be like, what did I pay?
Right, I didn't sign up for
this. That's not what I paid for.
This is not what I wanted, yeah.
So.
Absolutely. So, what else did I put? So, basically, my final thoughts came down to, it's a classic. It's a Taylor Swift classic. People who don't know much of Taylor Swift know the song 22. They've heard it. And they could probably tell you most of the lyrics because they're very repetitive.
You got 22, you got half of them.
Yeah, but overall, I mean, with that in mind, it's a very simple song, and I think it is mid. I think it lives in the mid-range.
All right. Well, with that in mind, I guess it's time for our rankings. A little bit of context for the listener. The way this is going to work is we are going to rank...
The one listener. I love that, I just imagine it's just Christy, or just Victoria, or just Madeline.
Future guests of the pod, all.
Yeah. Just my mom. Future guest of the pod.
But, yeah, so we'll be ranking each song 1 to 10, between 1 and 10. 1 is straight ass. 10 is...
Straight ass.
Straight ass.
Straight ass.
10 is a masterpiece.
Yes.
All Too Well's getting to 10. Spoilers.
Wow.
Brave, I know. Iconic. How could he say it?
I think the real controversy there is going to be the fact that it's not the 10-minute version.
Well, we're going to talk about that in that episode.
For you, might I add.
Oh,
that
you
is
like
not my opinion.
Okay, we'll get there. But yes, 1 is ass. 10 is great.
10 is great.
5 is
mid.
Average.
Yeah.
The way I kind of think about it a little bit too is anything above a 5 is something that I'm glad is on. If a song comes on, am I happy it's come on? Am I neutral? Or am I skip this shit, turn it off? You know
right,
what I mean?
Yeah.
So anything above 5, I am pleased that it is on. And anything below, turn that off, is where I'm at with it.
Yeah, I would say that anything below a 4 to me would be immediately skip, immediate turn off. 4 to 6 is I might skip it sometimes, but sometimes if it's just playing, I'll leave it playing.
Okay.
And 7 to 8 is I have to be in the right mood, but for the most part I like it. And then 9 to 10 is these songs I listen to all the time. It's perfect. But a very similar scale when I'm thinking about it.
All right. Well, I guess ladies first. What do you think?
I ranked it a 6.5.
I'm sorry to do this, but I'm afraid half points are for pussies, and we ain't no pussies on this podcast, so
okay.
You gotta pick 6 or 7.
All right. So if I can't have a half point, it's going to be a 6. It's not going to go up. It's going to go down. It's going to be a 6, and my note for my ranking was just not the best, but by far not the worst of the bubblegum pop songs in her catalog. Not as nostalgic to me, but can't deny it's catchy. So, like we talked about, you were 22 when it came out, so it has a little more nostalgia for you than it did to me. I was 15, 16 at the time, and I was like, this is fun to sing with the windows down in my car, but that's about it. I don't know what it's like to be 22.
Right. So, for me, it's a 7. A solid 7. If anything, it's closer to 8 than it is a 6. But I think 7 is where it belongs for me. And, yeah, it's interesting because, as you said, you were a big One Direction fan, a big Five Sauce fan, so you're not adverse to some bubblegum pop in your life.
Not at all, no.
But neither am I. This is one I missed earlier, but I'm a big fan of Canada's sweetheart, Miss Carly Rae Jepsen, and that's what she does. She makes 22s all day long, so I can enjoy that for sure, and I think 22 is enjoyable. But on the scale with some other Taylor songs, it's fluff. It's like cotton candy, you know? Sometimes cotton candy's great. Sweet.
She don't want it all
It's
the time.
fun. But you don't want it all the time. You
Nope.
can't listen to it all the time. You'll rot your teeth.
Yep.
You know?
You vom a little bit.
Diabetes.
Yeah.
Wilford Brimley on the pod. All right.
Yeah.
Well, guess that is about it. We will be putting up a poll on our Twitter and our Instagram for you, the listener, to let us know how you rank 22 and share your thoughts, opinions, feedback. We look forward to hearing from all of you. What is our social media handles? Kimberly, social medias are
At LGA_pod across all platforms.
at LGA_pod on Twitter, on Instagram. We want to hear from you. We want to share your opinions and hear from you.
What's our song next week?
Drum roll. It's time to go from the Evermore Deluxe edition.
So many thoughts. I have the longest clown corner you've ever heard.
Yes, I believe she said it was 4 pages, and it's still in progress, I think. So
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot. Well, if you don't have anything else.
That's it.
All right. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you next week.